It's now time to create our first model, and the model that we're going to be creating, and the only model that we're going to be creating, is a link model. This is going to represent our links table, and that way what we can do is add methods to this class that we're going to be building if we need to, or just use it as a simple way to pull in the data that we need. So let's create the model, then we will look at PSR4 auto-loading, which I'll explain, and then we will look at an example of pulling in this record here using our new model. So it's not as difficult as it does sound. So inside of app then, we are going to first of all namespace our application files. And by this I mean I'm going to create a directory that represents either the name of the site or my name, just so we can keep everything under one folder. And that will help with PSR4 auto-loading as well. So it's simple as creating a directory inside of app, and this should be capitalized as well, like this. So inside of this folder then, I'm going to create a models directory, which are going to store all of my models. You can structure this in a different way if your application grows larger, but for now I'm just going to create a models directory because we're only going to have one file in here for now. And that file is link.php. Now notice I'm calling it link and not links as per our database table name, and that's just convention. So let's save this out. So inside of here, what we want to do is namespace this file. And by namespacing, I mean grouping it under a specific name, and the name is going to replicate the structure of this shorty directory down all the way down to link. And that means that we can auto-load in these files. And all that means is we don't have to keep requiring in all of the new files we create within this shorty directory. That's pretty much the reason that we're doing this. So let's namespace this under shorty, the capital S, models, and that's all we need to do. So the class name is link, and that's it. So how is this going to work? Well, over on start.php, let's quickly create an example root again. So let's say app get /, we'll have our callback here, and let's try and instantiate link. And let's create a new instance of this link model. So to do that, we need to use shorty models link, much like we've done for our dependencies. And then in here, we can say link equals new link. We can omit the parenthesis. Now, this should work because we have the file existing here, namespaced under shorty models. Here, we're importing shorty models and link. This is the class name. And then we're creating a new instance of this class. But this isn't going to work if we refresh and turn errors on. So just temporarily, we'll just set display errors to on and refresh. It says here fatal error, class shorty models link not found. And the reason for this is we're not actually including this file anywhere, but we don't want to do that because that means for any other file that we create, we're going to have to include this file. So we're going to utilize Composer to auto-load our files for us. And because, remember, we're including this autoload.php file here to pull in our dependencies, that will also pull in all of the files within our shorty namespace as well. So under composer.json, just up here, we're going to create an autoload property. And let's pull this down. And inside of here, we're going to choose to PSR4 autoload. That's another object there. And in here, we specify, first of all, the top level namespace, which is shorty. And then we do 2 / because we need 1 / there, but it invalidates the JSON otherwise. So we need 2. And then we're going to choose the location of where this shorty directory or namespace structure starts. And that is app / shorty. So it's app / shorty. And all that's going to do is it's going to load in any files that we create under this shorty directory as long as they follow the namespacing convention. So shorty is the outer directory, models is this directory, and link here is this class. So we can't really just do this and refresh. It's not going to work. We need to dump our autoloader. And we only need to do this once because then it will know where to look for these files. So all we do is we say dump, composer, dump, autoload, and we pass the optimized flags. That's a lowercase o. And that has generated optimized autoload files. And when we refresh, we get no error. And that means that this link here has been instantiated properly. Now we're obviously not going to be doing this, but let's take an example, look at an example of reading this record from our database. So our model here isn't quite set up to use Eloquent. What we need to do is extend Eloquent so we can take all of the functionality from it. It will connect us up with that table and we can pull in records. So all we need to do here is extend Eloquent. But Eloquent cannot be found in here because it's not namespaced under models. So we need to import this namespace. And this is Illuminate database Eloquent models. And we're going to call that Eloquent. So we're calling this models class here Eloquent. And we're just extending it here. So there's a couple of things we want to define in here. We want to define the table that we're working with. This will automatically detect, as long as you have link, it will look for a links with an S on the end table. But I'm going to do this manually because sometimes when you're using Eloquent models, your database table name is going to be different. And we also now want to define the fields that we're allowed to fill. And this is to basically control mass assignment. So we want URL and code. So they're the two fields here that we want to fill. If you add any other fields, you may need to add them in here depending on how you're creating new records or updating them. So this is done. What we can now do inside of Start is actually start to use Eloquent's functionality. So what we do here then is we say link, and we can now start to build up a query with methods to pull in this record. And it's as easy as this. So we say link where, and then here what we can do is we can say where URL equals something. So we can say where URL and then paste that in as a string if we wanted to, and we will eventually be doing this. You can do this as well, but if you're checking for equals, you can just do 2 comma separated values, and then we use first to pull back that record. So let's assign this to link, and then let's do a var dump on link and see what we get back. So when I refresh here, we have an error, so let's just check this out. There we go, so it's model. It's not models. So let's refresh, and there we go. So we get this link object back, and it gives us all of this data just in here. And this does look a little bit confusing. It looks like there's, a ton of data. Where's all this data coming from? Because we are using models, it's pulling back all of the functionality that we have on our model as well. So for example, we could add a method in here, like public function get URL, for example, and that could return this URL, and all URL is the field name or the column name in your database table. So that's why we're getting all that sort of what looks like gibberish back. But if we use something like get, this is going to pull back the following. So it will pull back a collection of items. This now has link in there, and then we can iterate through them if we wanted, if we had multiple records. It may not make too much sense at the moment, but when it comes down to it, and when we're actually working with this within our link generation, it will make a lot more sense. So before we go on to the next part, which we're actually going to be creating our routes, let's get rid of this example route. Let's pull out this here because we don't need this dependency in there. And let's leave our temporary PHP INI display errors setting on, just so if we do get any more errors, we can see what's going on here. So at the current state, we have no routes at all, but we do have our database connection set up. We've created our first and only model, which is link, which is going to assist us in creating links, pulling back links and doing things like that. And we can obviously access our application, and everything is looking good. But now we need to actually create the route so we can start to show the default homepage, which is just going to be nothing, actually redirect a user to a link from a short link, and then eventually we're going to generate links using the API that we're going to be building, essentially just a route that we're going to be hitting via a REST client. So let's get on in the next part with creating these routes then, and then we'll go on to the more fun stuff.